Hello, YouTube, welcome. My name is MelloGG, and you're probably here for one thing. You're probably here for the cultists. You either just got shit on, you want to go find them, or you need them for the night sweep quest from Peacekeeper, which is new, where you need to turn in 12 cultist knives. And don't worry, you've come to the right place. I've been farming these guys for a couple days now, and I've turned in all my knives, and I've got a couple extra, and I'm gonna continue to hunt them because they're so fun. So let's carry on and introduce you guys to what exactly the cultists are. The cultists are a pagan worshipping group that is responsible basically for all the marked writings inside of Escape from Tarkov. So everything from as far as marked rooms, they're responsible for it. And they were introduced last wipe, and when they had a very low spawn rate, and they were very, very easy to kill. They only tried to stab you, they never tried to aggro you. That is simply not the case anymore. They're one of the most lucrative scav bosses, and we'll get into that. And they're one of the most interesting and fun scav bosses that I've had the honor of fighting. In my whole entire 5,000 hours of playing Escape from Tarkov, this is the most fun I've ever had in a video game. And I'm going to share with you guys how to exactly do that. So with their loot, what do they have? Well, they can have SR25s, they can have AKs with BP ammo, they can have RPKs, they can have AS Vals, they can have all kinds of things. And most typically, they have their poison cultist knife. These are the ones that you need for the quest. You need to find 12 of them. Don't worry, it's not as hard as you think. You just have to go find them. We'll get into that as well. They can also have one of the most rarest melee items in the game. I was fortunate enough to find it. Plague roll the clip. It is the Taiga 1 survival machete, which barters for thick cases, reds, greens, blues, and is worth about 15 million rubles on the flea market. You can get it for cheaper if you're lucky, but probably not. It's very powerful, especially with max strength. You can one hit pretty much anybody. It's a very, very cool thing to have. It can also spawn on Sanitar, but I've had no luck with that so far. So now we're talking body armor. They most normally have defender armors on, which is class 5, but they can also have olive and tan and black slicks, and they can also have hex grids, Karuns, and P.A.K.As. But yeah, I mean, you're not really looting that stuff. You're probably looting the slicks and the hex grids, which are very, very common. Also, the SR25s that they can have. They have a skeletonized pistol grip, and they have a shift foregrip with an NVG scope and a canted RMR, I believe. And if you part that gun up and sell it, and then sell the rest to mechanic, you're gonna make about 450,000 rubles just off of the one cultist gun alone. So like I said, they're very, very lucrative. They're very fun to fight. And let's now talk about how do they try to kill you. So on customs, when they spawn in Stronghold, they're pretty passive. They almost kind of try to fight you one by one unless they get you caught out in the open, which is not very common. They typically hide, and they try to ambush you from certain bushes when you're not paying attention, because they'll just prone in the grass, and they'll try to stab you, and while they stab you, they get the other's attention. Where they're more dangerous at, really, is shoreline and woods. What they do is, if you have a scope, you're probably not going to be able to see them. I'll get into how you can see them here in a minute. But you're probably not going to see them until you run up into their territory. So it's best to take it slow so you can pick one off and then run away. We'll get in like how to kill them here in a minute. But what they'll try to do typically is, one will try to stab you. They'll try to get you to return fire onto them, because once you do, they will shoot you and you will die. If you're in a bad spot, they will have you surrounded and you will die. It's very scary. I don't know how BSG coded it like this, but they have a plan. They're very intelligent, and they're very, very scary and very intimidating to fight. And that's coming from somebody with 5,000 hours in the game, and I'm not that bad. I'm really not. What they'll do is they'll throw grenades at you. They'll do some really weird stuff. I've had a lot of times where the priest will come up. He'll come up to me, get to where I can see him, stand up. I'll look at him. He'll run away. I'll start shooting at him, and then I start getting shot from the left, from the right, from behind me. They also like to use misdirection tactics. Sometimes they'll shoot near you, but not at you, to get you to look somewhere else, to get you to try to run somewhere, and then boom, you run into right into one. So that's pretty much how they attack. they're pretty standard cultists. You know, they hide, they're sneaky, they're scary, and they'll fuck you up. I promise you that they will. So let's talk about where they are. So on customs, they have about a 20% spawn rate. They spawn anywhere from Crack House all the way to the back of ZB13, aka Stronghold, Fortress, whatever you choose to call it. That is where they spawn on customs. Like I said, they're pretty easy to kill there. You can pretty much just push them and kill them with brute force. None of the other places, it will not work. Don't try it, I promise you. We'll show you guys some clips, plenty of clips actually, of me just getting absolutely rolled by them. And you can't see them, and there's nothing you can do about it. So don't say, oh, I'm pretty good at the game. Yeah, I promise you can't. You're gonna die. Okay? I promise. And then on Shoreline, they can spawn over by the swamp area by the church, all the way back to the rock, and a little bit past that, where that lonely scav probably sits. You probably see him a couple times. Sometimes there's more than one scav over there. There's also a green weapon crate you can loot. But they can also spawn there. They can also spawn at what I like to call Spine, which is over a little past the blue fences at Cottage. It's a big rock, and they can be anywhere over there. I've never been successful fighting them there. I wish I could show you some footage. I can show you some footage of me dying to them and my teammates killing them. But they're very, very hard to kill there. So now that we've covered all those spawns, they can also spawn on woods, which is almost my favorite place to fight them, but it's very, very hard to fight them. They can be in the woods by the mark circle, and they can be all along these woods. What's scary is a lot of the times we've had them up while Sturman is also alive as well. And they can be pretty tricky to fight, especially if they go back to the cabin that has the weapon attachments in it. They can go all the way back there. There's lots of cover for them, lots of open area, and it's pitch black and they can see you and you just can't see them, and you're gonna die unless you play it right. They can also spawn over by the sunken church, the sunken village. It's like a swamp area kind of, I guess. We've had them spawn on the beach over there pretty much. They can spawn across. They can also spawn inside of the sunken village area, and they can be on the woods a little bit to the left of it. Let's talk about, first, actually, one tip I have for finding them when you're looking for the spawns is don't give up on them. I can't count on one hand how many times we have been running through an area and we've said, damn, I don't think they're here. And then the next thing you know, somebody's getting stabbed and we're all coming back. Because you don't know that they're not there until you've absolutely 100% cleared everything. Because they like to hide in the grass, they like to lay prone, and they're sneaky bastards, really, and they will kill you. So let's talk about how to kill them now. Well, what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to slowly clear the area, like I said, because you don't want to get ambushed. They're gonna be prone in the grass most likely, and they're pretty intimidating, really. They really, really, really are. What's best to do is to run up and try to get one to basically stab you. You kind of got to risk your life. You want to try to get him to stab you, and then when you kill one, it's best to run away pretty far, and then you can, start sneaking back up and see if you can get a feel for where they are, because like I said, they're very, very hard to spot, and a lot of times you just don't know where they are. They're all suppressed, and they all sit in different bushes, prone, sit by different trees. They're very intimidating and tough to kill. But they do have one flaw that makes them pretty easy to pick off. As you all know, they all take the SJ9 stem, so you can't see them with thermals. However, their gear does glow. So in certain spawns like Spine, the church at Woods, and even the other mark circle by Woods, if you have a FLIR and you zoom in, you can see them pretty well, kind of. It kind of depends on the lighting, it depends where they are. But after their first aggro, they don't return to prone. They crouch, they swivel, and they'll put their guns up in the air, which you can see they put their guns up in the air, check the chambers on them. They're weird. They're really weird dudes. But you can see them with the FLIR scope. You can also see them with regular scopes. But once you back off, if you're getting shot at and you get enough distance and get them to unaggro, because they kind of forget about you. If you get them to unaggro, they'll be crouched in bushes or standing up. Therefore, they'll be a lot easier to see than if they're just prone. in the woods, because if you are running through there, they're aggroed on you and they're prone, you're dead. You're not gonna kill them. I promise you that you're not. Let's talk about equipment. What I would recommend using are the GP NVG 18 night vision goggles. Those are pretty much the best and clearest night vision. You can use the other ones if you prefer them, but for me, these are what work the best. They're a little bit expensive, but you can find them if you want to grind them. Kiba, you know, Red Room and Labs. They've got a lot of spawns you can find them at. If you don't want to pay the 140 to 200k, you know, fee to get them. You're also going to want to bring an XTG12 antidote injector. This will allow you, if you get stabbed by a poison knife, this will allow you to not have negative effects. Because if you don't have one of these, you're pretty much going to be running to the extract healing the entire time, just trying to stay alive. Because the poison does kill you very, very fast. So you're going to have to heal, you know, a lot. What I would recommend gun-wise is I would recommend anything with above 50 flesh damage that has a pretty decent penetration value. So stay away from 5.56, stay away from 9mm. I was typically rocking M62 or BP. I was using a mutant or an MDR SR25 M1A. Something of that caliber, and I would usually use a ranged optic, maybe a voodoo scope, maybe a Valide, an Elcan are all great options. But if you just want to use a hollow, that's okay too. But like I said, sometimes it's best to kill a lot of them from range. So that's what I would really recommend. If you want to use a FLIR, they're about 400k on the flea market, but there's some pretty damn good barters for them through Jaeger. If you play a lot of reserve and got some military circuit boards saved up, some MGTs and some Iridium, you can get a pretty cheap barter for them. And yeah, sometimes the FLIR is your best bet, but sometimes you just can't see them at all, so it really depends. Armor wise, I would recommend anything pretty much level 4 and up. TV110, AACP, Slick, Kill Armor, Defender, Gen 4, whatever. You're probably going to be okay. The thing about them is if they're shooting at you and you die, it most likely didn't matter what you were wearing. You're probably going to die anyways, and your armor's not going to save you a lot of time against cultists. You might get lucky, but if they're going to fuck you up, they're going to fuck you up regardless. So that's pretty much the extent of the guide. I hope that you enjoyed it. And I really, really hope that you guys enjoy the Cultist as much as I do, because I've had a lot of fun. And let me know if you guys have any luck with red key cards or Taigas. Thank you guys.